Mom, can I have a Nintendo Game Boy?
No, we already have a Nintendo Game Boy. At home.
And now, the Nintendo Game Boy Scout is at home.
Great! Dead! Flintstones! Oh!
I wish I was good enough. I wish I was good enough.
Tiger Electronics, an American toy manufacturer known for the Furby and a wide range of standalone handheld games. They were like miniature arcade machines right at the palm of your hands. But what players actually experience is a severe case of the demakes. This is because each system is essentially a Game & Watch unit consisting of a printed image behind a clear screen with an excess of static images that light up individually to simulate movement. And because Tiger was all about quantity over quality, they were essentially the Rule 34 of gaming. If it exists, there's a Tiger version of it. To put in context how horrid the Tiger handhelds were, let's go with a series that has been demade into oblivion. Originally released as an arcade title in 1992, this gory fighter, known for its fatalities and the formation of the ESRB rating system, would later see a console release on September 13, 1993, otherwise referred to as Mortal Monday. Each console adaptation tried to faithfully recreate the magic of the arcade system, but had to skip out on certain aspects. The Super Nintendo version, though it looks and sounds as close to the arcade title as it theoretically can, sported severe input lag and was heavily censored to the point of no bloodshed and modified fatalities that were renamed to finishing moves. The Sega Genesis port of the game had more responsive controls, yet had worse sounds and graphics compared to the SNES release. And if you had a 3-button controller that originally came with the console, the A button would function as the high punch and low punch, while the start button would be used to block. And while the Genesis version was also heavily censored like the Super Nintendo counterpart, players were able to remove the censorship by inputting what is commonly referred to as the blood code. Each Genesis version of the original Mortal Kombat trilogy was famous for their cheat codes, to the point that players could finish off their opponents by turning them into Fergus McGovern, the founder of Probe Software.
Fatality.
Mortal Monday also saw portable releases of the title on Nintendo's Game Boy and Sega's Game Gear, but these releases are notably slower and heavily lacking in terms of stages and even characters. Much like the Super Nintendo version, the Game Boy's was also heavily censored and suffers both input lag and poor hit detection. And while you won't be able to play Johnny Cage in this port, you are able to speedrun through it as Goro by simply using his stomp attack. The Game Gear version is a notable improvement over the Game Boy release, as it features colored graphics and the inclusion of a blood code, much like the Genesis release. But much like the Game Boy, this port only has 2 stages and 6 of the 7 playable fighters due to the omission of Kano. Tiger Electronics would also release 2 portable versions of the game, with one featuring every single character, special moves, and even fatalities. But given the limitations of the system, there's only one stage, choppy animations, and a complete lack of blood and gore. The Barcodes version had improved sound capabilities, but only boasts 4 playable characters, and only features Goro as the main boss. It also sports a barcode reader at the top, which, when used with the right trading cards, can boost your stats or straight up kill you. But Tiger didn't just release heavily demade handheld units, they also dabbled in their own line of portable game consoles that were more or less complete flops. Their first console, the R-Zone, essentially had users playing their Game & Watch units with a red screen attached near your eyeballs. But then there was the Gamecom, a 5th generation portable handheld designed to compete with Nintendo's Game Boy. It boasted a similar LCD dot matrix display, twice as many face buttons and cartridge slots, internet capabilities, and was the first system to feature a touchscreen 7 years before it hit mainstream audiences through Nintendo's DS line of handhelds. It was also capable of playing games that saw releases on Sony's PlayStation, like Duke Nukem 3D and Resident Evil 2. But this raises some serious red flags considering the limitations of both the screen and the processing overhead of the system. Once you've booted the device up, you'll be greeted to a menu where you can access your games, the high scores, and a few PDA-like features such as a calendar, calculator, phone book, and even a built-in game of solitaire. And like I mentioned earlier, You are able to access the internet on the device via both a dial-up modem and a special cartridge, which was mainly used to read and send high scores and emails. At launch, the Gamecom came bundled with a pack-in game titled Lights Out, based on their 1995 electronic game where you have to turn off all the lights in as few button presses as possible. Tiger would release 3 other games on the system: Henry, a sound-based matching game, Quiz Whiz, a trivia game, and Tiger Casino, a compilation of games that involve some form of gambling digital currency. There were 16 other titles for the console that were released by third parties. Some of them were rather simple adaptations of board games like Scrabble and Monopoly, or game shows like Jeopardy, and even 2 variations of Wheel of Fortune. Then you have ports of arcade titles like Centipede and Frogger, which, while slower due to system overhead, at the very least features 2 different sprite sheets to play with, and even had a compilation of 5 Williams arcade classics on a single cartridge: Defender 1 and 2, Joust, Robotron, and Sinistar, albeit at a frame rate so low that only Defender 1 and 2 are technically considered playable. You even had a racing game in Indy 500, which is downright impossible to play due to a poor field of view and lack of drifting, along with no minimap of the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway to help you out. And when it came to their port of Trilogy, well, it made Mortal Kombat Advance look better in comparison, and that port was poorly programmed to begin with. Players have 13 characters to choose from, including Shao Kahn and Motaro from the start, 2 unlockable fighters in Ermac and Noob Saibot, and no option of selecting Scorpion or Sub-Zero. The game is as slow, choppy, and unresponsive as the Game Boy ports, but at least features full sound effects and rather unfinished finishing moves. Then you have the ports of games released on home consoles, such as Batman and Robin, Fighters Megamix, and The Lost World Jurassic Park. And this even includes a couple shooters like Resident Evil 2, where you can only play as Leon with a fixed camera perspective. And you can even go into the first person with Duke Nukem 3D, where you can only look forward and be able to fire at enemies either straight across or at an angle. The only saving grace of this port is that Duke himself can speak.
Not the second time those alien bastards shut up my ride.
But by far, the worst ever port the Gamecom has in its library is Sonic Jam, a compilation of Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic & Knuckles. They not only stripped down the quality of these ports, but they also stripped the original Sonic the Hedgehog game out entirely. The games are painstakingly slow, not only in terms of poor frame rate, but also in terms of moving the Blue Blur himself when he's supposed to be fast as fuck. And it's also strange considering Knuckles the Echidna is faster than Sonic in this port, though he is technically unable to climb or glide like on the Genesis. And while Tails is able to fly like normal, the mechanic is completely broken since he can access areas that are normally inaccessible since the levels weren't designed with that in mind. The physics are also notably heavier than its Genesis counterparts, to the point where even the spin dash might also be ineffective. The game also suffers from poor input lag and severe screen crunch, which makes it easier to lose rings and lives. It's worse than the screen crunch you get when playing Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on the Game Boy Color when compared to playing the original NES port of Super Mario Bros. But at least the Game Boy Color port was more feature-rich and just as responsive. So this was the straw that broke the fucking camel's back.
And it plays more games than you idiots have brain cells!
Said the man who fucking lost all of his brain cells when promoting the fuck out of this pile of shit. There were only 21 games on this fucking console, and they all range from absolute dogshit to mediocre at fucking best. This further proves the existence of the Rule 34 of video games. If it exists, there's a shitty Tiger version of it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a like and feel free to provide suggestions on what you would like to see in the comment section down below. If you want to see more content from me, please hit that subscribe button and the adjacent bell for upload notifications, and I will catch you all later.